by Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association President Flavio Volpe and Provincial Economic Development Minister Vic Fitelli. The Arrow was produced with financial help from the federal and provincial governments and showcases the capabilities of 50 Canadian companies.
We think this is a great business development tool. We think it's a very effective business card and calling card for these companies. And so we hope that we'll have this interview again in a year or two, and I'll tell you how much more business these companies got and who they employ.
And what do you think of the interior, ladies and gentlemen?
A third of the companies that produce components and parts for the Arrow are either from the Windsor area or have a presence here. E-Tractive Incorporated in Oldcastle produced software and the electrical wiring for the car. The chief technical officer says working on the project has already created 8 jobs.
So being part of this bigger event, being part of this, national and worldwide scale event is really helping companies like mine and a lot of the other suppliers get our stuff out there into the public view.
Even though the vehicle is being touted as all Canadian, 3% of the components had to be sourced overseas. Both Troy and Volpe say more has to be done to foster semiconductor production in Canada.
So we're seeing a whole bunch of semiconductor production being built up in the U.S. We're going to have to shift in Canada to look at supplying from North American sources, and also very interested to see whether there is enough of a value proposition to do that in Canada.
Volpe says the car will be on display at the show in Las Vegas for 4 days. The prototype is not being mass-produced at this point, but Volpe won't rule that out. The Arrow will be shown to automakers to promote the technology in the vehicle to them. The vehicle also gives federal and provincial officials a real drivable vehicle to promote Canadian manufacturing.
The plane roars off the ground on her maiden flight.
The namesake for the car came from the Avro Aero fighter jet from the 1950s, and while it didn't end well for that Arrow, manufacturers are hoping the high-tech features in the car will help boost Canadian economic development into the stratosphere. The Arrow will be featured at the Auto Show in Toronto in mid-February, and Volpe says it will be brought to Windsor in the near future. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
Stellantis also made a big move at CES. The company unveiled a brand new concept vehicle, starting with a new prototype from Peugeot. That there is the Peugeot Inception. It was the first to be driven on stage by Stellantis just moments ago. This is our first full look at the vehicle. It's battery electric. The company is saying that it wants to put its own software into this vehicle and others that it makes. Light and glass is the new black and chrome, according to the automaker. And they just showed off a brand new concept, an electric pickup. That is the new Ram 1500 Revolution concept. It's also a battery electric vehicle, and this is the first look. The first consumer Ram 1500 will debut in 2024. Stellantis says it will have more range and lower charge time than what customers are used to. This concept is built on the STLA frame, which is what the Windsor assembly plant will be retooled for this summer. Also debuted at CES by the automaker, a new car charger for your home that it says will be able to automatically align itself with the vehicle. Stellantis is also celebrating its 2022 sales numbers. The company says that 1 in 4 hybrid plug-ins sold in Canada were a Stellantis brand, and the Windsor-built Pacifica saw a big jump in sales, up 71% compared to last year. But last year's numbers were impacted by the pandemic. Tune into Windsor Morning tomorrow to hear more on what these numbers mean for the company's future. From electric vehicles to an electrifying job, this is Darren Bernier at the top of a wind turbine. That is his office. He's got an excellent view, but it is high up, 130 meters in the air. Bernier is a major component exchange technician. He fixes those turbines you see along the 401. And we asked him what it's like to climb and repair a wind turbine in Chatham, Kent.
Wind turbine tech is basically a lot like a mechanic. Wind turbines are similar to cars in that they need to be serviced, they need parts replaced, upgrades, all those kind of fun things. So we basically, with my company, we basically replace any type of major component. So the generator, a gearbox, a blade, anything that's big and heavy. If it fails, we'll come on in and replace it. For me, like I've been in the industry now for 8 years. I've climbed probably thousands of turbines at this point all over North America, from East Coast to West Coast and everywhere kind of in between. And for me, it's never gotten old. I know a lot of guys still complain about climbing towers and how it's a pain in the butt, but it's one of those things that I always look forward to, and getting up there, seeing the views, and just listen to some music when you're up there as well. And when we're up there, it just kind of depends on the day. There's no real normal day for us. One day we could be doing something super easy, just going up and doing a quick little check. And then the next day you could be replacing an entire major component. So it kind of depends on the day or the task or the site you're at. It's not a typical 9 to 5, that's for sure.
From one wild job to the next, neon lights are starting to make a comeback in Windsor. And actually, some of our most iconic signs give off that gorgeous glow. The CBC's Mike Evans popped into a local shop that creates these pieces.
Neon signs once dominated urban landscapes all over Canada from the 1940s all the way into the 1990s. For decades, the neon glow dominated Olette Avenue businesses mainly as commercial advertisements. Then, as the signs aged, they were often replaced by other, less expensive options. Now a Windsor company is changing that one sign at a time, and the nostalgia over old neon is creating quite a buzz. I visited Tecumseh Sign in Windsor and spoke to the team there about their passion for neon.
I've been at it for 40 years now. It is an art form. It really is an art form. If there is a sign here in town, I have done work on it.
LED hitting the market has kind of crippled neon because everybody figures LED is more cost effective because you can build a backlit LED sign for about half the price of a neon sign. So people kind of did away with neon and they just thought it was just something of the past. So it kind of disappeared for a while, and just recently, we said, why can't we bring that glow back? You can't get that glow out of any other type of lighting. Fluorescent, LED, incandescent, it doesn't have that same glow. So we decided to bring neon back because it was something different, it was something vibrant. And we kind of fell in love with that glow, and from there, we just started going with it. And even some of our new signs we sell now through Tecumseh Signs, we've even started introducing neon back into our new builds. And we've had a couple local restaurants and bars actually order brand new neon signs that we've built from scratch now, because you can't get that glow and that vibrant look from anything else.
The most well-known sign that the team has worked on is Windsor's Lazar's First sign. Built in the 1940s, the Lazar's First sign had not been lit since the early 1990s. The team approached the sign's owner to see if they could repair it for free as a labor of love.
We self-funded our own build on the Lazar's First sign, and we got it lit up for the first time in probably, 30 years? First time lighting it up, it's so cool. It lit up full Maiden Lane with light. By doing that, it's gonna add to the artistic alley that they're doing right now with the downtown BIA, with all the graffiti and everything. So the amount of crowds that were piling around and people coming out of their offices was actually mind-blowing, because everyone thought that we're taking the sign down, but we said, no, we're gonna preserve this sign for the future so everybody else in Windsor can enjoy it. It's actually a surreal feeling seeing something that old lit up. What it means for the city of Windsor to restore and preserve some of these old neon signs that are still up is it's a huge crowd attraction.
Instead of more advertising, it's more art on my wall piece, which is really good because it has kept us busy. So it becomes a feel and a visual. You have to be able to see the glass and feel it. And by bringing it up, as soon as you start to bend it, it collapses. We're going to bring that up to roughly 500 degrees, the actual glass itself, which will help eliminate any impurities that happen to be in the tube. Once it gets down to a certain temperature and a certain pressure, we're going to introduce argon or neon gas into the tube. Argon itself, by itself, is almost a purplish, a light purplish color. And we're going to introduce a small amount of mercury into that tube. The mercury is going to react with the argon and it's going to turn it blue. If we're using neon, we use it by itself, and that gives you that nice orange open sign looking color.
Going forward, the team has their sights set on other historic Windsor neon signs, the Shanfield Meyer sign and the historic Arcata Pizza sign.
The final pickup of donations for CBC Windsor's Sounds of the Season campaign is complete. People across Windsor, Essex have been donating items since early December. Schools and community groups, different clubs and workplaces, and it's been wonderful to see how people have been coming together to help out to support local food banks. And now we have a grand total for you. There it is, $18,449. That's a massive total. And in physical donations, we've got 8,400 kilograms of food. And that is all going to the Windsor Essex Food Bank Association. And they've seen the need increase. And they're so happy to see that folks in our community have answered that call for support. So thanks to you all. And with that live look outside there, it's been a gloomy Thursday, a little bit wet, and more of that tonight and into tomorrow as well. Colette Kennedy will have more weather for us right after the break. Stay with us.
p.m.
Team Canada opened this year's World Junior Hockey Championship against the Czech Republic with a loss. Tonight, the Canadians close the tournament against the Czech Republic, and if they do it with a win, they will be the gold medalists. The CBC's Matt Cullen has this preview.
Going for gold, the Canadians will play in the final game of the tournament against the Czech Republic after beating their arch rival, the United States, in the semifinal last night. It was a relatively nervous start for the Canadians, giving up 2 early first period goals, but the Canadians rallied to score 6 goals in a row to advance to the gold medal game. There was some controversy and anger in this game as well, particularly on the American side, who had 2 goals disallowed in the hockey game. Particular frustration midway through the second period. A goal was called off. That would have tied the game at 3-3. Canadian goalkeeper Thomas Milic was great, making 43 saves. And the 19-year-old from Coquitlam, British Columbia, rose to be an unlikely hero in the tournament. He's the only player on the Canadian roster that was passed over in the last NHL draft. He says the win in the semifinal against the United States is something he'll treasure forever.
It was an incredible experience for me and the rest of the team. I think that was definitely the biggest, probably the best moment in my hockey career, maybe my life as well. So, we're pretty happy with how everything went, and we're gonna have to have a short-term memory.
So Canada will play the Czech Republic in the gold medal game tonight. The Czechs advanced to the gold medal game by beating Sweden in a 2-1 overtime thriller. So that means this is a rematch from the very first game of the tournament when the Czech Republic beat Canada in an upset 5-2. Canada will be going for revenge. Canada will also be going for the second gold medal in a row in this tournament. No country has done that since 2009. Matt Cullen, CBC News, Toronto.
Colette Kennedy is now with us for a look at our local weather forecast. And Colette, it was a really gloomy day today, and it looks like it's sticking around, eh?
Yeah, it is going to be kind of a gloomy evening, at times a little bit wet as well. So it is a good night to maybe stay in, to be watching the World Juniors. I love them, but I always kind of hate this time of year when it comes to the end, because to me it's really the end of the holidays. I like to extend them since the World Juniors start on Boxing Day. I like to think this carries the holidays on, but after the gold medal game, there we go. So anyway, go Canada. Let's take a look at what's going on. Those current temperatures, mild. I know you're like, well, yeah, yesterday was mild. Okay, yesterday very mild, but still above seasonal and above freezing. I do want to point out the winds. You can see much lighter winds off to the east and to the northeast, but actually through the day, they've been 20, 30 kilometers an hour. And although generally they back off through the overnight hours, I just kind of noticed how the model wants to sort of keep them around that to 25, 30 kilometer an hour through the night. So I think they're going to ease off a little bit from here, but still a bit of a breeze until tomorrow morning, and then afternoon they really will be backing off even further, even though that's not terribly strong, but just kind of pointing that out for you. So here's a bit of that gloominess, a little bit wet, a little pocket at times, just slightly heavier stuff, and you notice what's happening back to the west with some of that cooler air passing across Michigan, that it does become the form of some wet flurries and wet light snow that's passing through. Well, the other thing that happens is some of this moisture actually dries up over the next 24 hours. So intermittent, isolated stuff that we'll be seeing, kind of a bit of a mix at times closer to the lakeshore, where you'll tend to see it more as a rain shower, where it's just a little bit milder. But there's not much left to this as we go into Friday. Still, it's there, and there's still that the cloud cover and that cloud deck that's pretty persistent. So we will begin to erode that. I always like to use that term. We're going to erode those clouds as we go into the weekend. So that does mean that we're going to get some vitamin D coming back to us Saturday into Sunday. And we could have the odd sunny break tomorrow, but I just wouldn't really hold my breath about that one. But into Saturday, things looking much better. High pressure kind of finally dialing itself in and pushing in there. And so into Sunday, too, we should be having some sunshine in our forecast. But looking at overnight tonight, the range of temperatures, there really isn't a range, is there? Because we are looking at it coming down to the freezing mark. And that's the thing. It tends to be more wet flurries here towards London. I do also want to point out I meant to mention this that as we were looking at the other graphic there, that we are looking at around the shores of Lake Huron, around Georgian Bay, that at times through the weekend there will be some lake effect. So if you are going to be traveling, you may get out of that sunshine and suddenly get into some whiteout conditions. It's not too significant or too severe, but there will be some visibility issues and some pockets where we're going to be seeing those setting up. So after that, as we go into tomorrow, do you notice anything about the long range forecast? Daytime highs stay above freezing. They're above seasonal temperatures, and in the overnights we'll have some slightly cooler air push in. It's also above normal for this time of year. It's just that we've probably gotten pretty accustomed to it being so mild even in the mornings when we start things out, and we're going to have a few here that are going to be feeling just a little bit cooler, but nice to have some of that sun coming back at us.
Definitely. We've been spoiled for sure. I see those numbers and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so much colder, but really it's, we're good. We're still
all
lucky.
relative.
Exactly. Thanks for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
When we come back, a funeral for the Pope Emeritus. We go to the Vatican after the break.
free.
The funeral was held at the Vatican today for the former Pope Benedict XVI. With a reigning pope presiding and with Benedict's legacy a subject of contentious debate, it was a day of history for the Church. The CBC's Katie Nicholson reports.
The Vatican in mourning, shrouded in darkness and mist. Outside its walls, lines of the faithful, eager to get a good seat for the funeral of Pope Emeritus Benedict. He was a man of great faith, she says. In the end, the early lineups, not really necessary. Only 50,000 streamed into St. Peter's Square, small by papal standards, but historic. For the first time in modern history, one pope sending off another with a gentle touch. Deeply affecting for some.
When I look at Pope Francis' face, I saw someone who has lost a friend whom he referred to as a grandfather. If he's losing a grandfather, then we are losing a great-grandfather.
For others, the retired pope, much more than a father figure. Santo subito, they cried. Make him a saint now. Not an easy road for any pope, but one that may be rockier for a man who faced repeated criticism over his handling of sexual abuse in the church. In life, often described as a traditional hardliner, it's easy to miss the other, softer Benedict. In this gallery, steps from the Vatican, the animal lover and pianist.
Pope Benedict changed my life. He just formed me intellectually.
And there is no denying his pull as a theological giant, or the pull of this historic day.
Just being in the plaza with so many people from all other countries, people holding up their phones, listening in their language.
Laid to rest in the catacombs below the basilica where so many started their journey to sainthood. An open question whether Benedict will someday follow.
This funeral was specially tailored for a retired pope. Some customs and prayers changed, and it may be a blueprint for the future. After all, the current pope is 86 and has made no bones about the fact that he too may someday retire. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Vatican City.
Sikh children now have the option of wearing a bike helmet that fits them properly, thanks to a Brampton mom. As an occupational therapist, Tina Singh says she knows the importance of protecting kids from head injuries, so she came up with a solution. Talia Ricci has more.
This one is for you. Tina Singh says the idea to create a new helmet came from her experience as a mom.
Kids keep their hair, and so anytime I went to go put a bike helmet on them when they were going out to ride or learning to ride for the first time, nothing would fit them properly. Some of the things we did with what we had are, sizing up our helmets, which led them to not fit properly, or trying to hollow out the foam on the inside.
So Singh took matters into her own hands. She worked for over 2 years on a new design. The Sikh helmet is now in production.
But basically what makes this unique is that it has this dome portion on the top to accommodate your child's hair. So if you look inside, you can see that the helmet itself is curved in order to have it fit in a way where they're still matching all the rules for how a helmet should fit.
Singh says the helmet is certified for use with bikes, inline skates, kick scooters, and skateboards for kids over the age of 5.
Because I'm an occupational therapist and I worked in the area of acquired head injury, I didn't want my kids to ride without a helmet. That's something that's really important to me.
We're looking at innovations, and this is definitely a step in the right direction. It creates more options for Sikh families. The turban is a very important Sikh article of faith, and it covers the uncut hair. So there are many Sikhs that are looking for options when helmet requirements are in place.
I'm excited. It's like vision to reality, right?
And the mother hopes having this option also helps kids feel more seen in sports.
I hope this makes them feel included. I think more than, creating a product for Sikh kids is the demonstration of inclusion and diversity in how we develop products and how we look at the people who need to be served and, look at options for those who maybe don't have any.
The creation of this type of helmet is now going to create an inclusive space. It's going to foster belonging. And that's part of the antidote to making sure that people feel like they belong.
They've tried on 100 times. They're like, "Are we done now? Are we done trying this?" Yeah, of course I made you. You're my test subjects. So seeing them actually wear it is it's a beautiful moment for me.
One she hopes is shared with other Sikh parents now too. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Brampton.
And that is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. And you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful night.